Okay, so let's talk Cacio e Pepe. You know that feeling, right? You're all set, thinking, this time it'll be perfect.
Uh-huh. That creamy, dreamy sauce.
Exactly. And then, boom, clumps. A sticky mess. It's so frustrating. Especially because, I mean, it's just 3 ingredients.
It seems simple, yeah. But there's some real science going on under the surface.
Well, that's what we're diving into today. We're looking at how to actually fix it based on some pretty cool scientific research that's basically cracked the code for perfect Cacio e Pepe.
That's right. We're drawing on a study that's published in Physics of Fluids, a whole team of Italian scientists involved.
Oh, yeah. From where?
Let's see. University of Barcelona, Max Planck Institute for the Physics of Complex Systems, University of Padova, and the Institute of Science and Technology, Austria. So, proper institutions.
Wow. Okay. Serious stuff.
Definitely. And, their motivation wasn't just pure science, though I'm sure that was part of it. They were also, trying to solve a real problem. How to nail that creamy sauce every time. And maybe just as important for anyone cooking at home.
Don't waste the good cheese.
Exactly. Avoid wasting that precious Pecorino Romano. A very relatable goal, I think.
Totally relatable. A noble goal, even. So, okay, for anyone maybe not familiar, Cacio e Pepe is just pasta, Pecorino Roma cheese, black pepper. That's it.
The classic Roman trio.
Yeah.
Simple, powerful.
But like we said, getting them to play nice, to make that amazing sauce, that's the tricky part. The cheese just seems to seize up, doesn't it, when it hits the hot water?
Yeah, it often clumps. And the core issue, scientifically speaking, is pretty fundamental.
What's that?
It's about mixing fat and water. Cheese is full of fat, obviously.
Right.
And fat and water, well, they don't naturally mix. They're immiscible.
Oil and vinegar vibes.
Pretty much. So to get that smooth, unified sauce we want, you need something in between, a go-between.
Like a mediator.
A stabilizer, yeah. Something that helps the fat molecules hang out with the water molecules without freaking out.
Okay, so what's the stabilizer here?
And this is the key finding from the researchers. It's starch.
Starch. Okay, so you mean the stuff that makes the pasta water cloudy.
Exactly that. The starch that leaches out of the pasta while it cooks. That's what acts as the crucial bridge.
Huh. So that starchy water isn't just waste, it's actually functional.
Very functional. It allows the fat from the cheese to disperse evenly in the water, stopping those clumps from forming. Or at least that's the idea.
Right. But it doesn't always work.
Well, the researchers actually figured out the optimal amount. They found the sweet spot is a starch-to-cheese ratio of about 2% to 3%.
2-3%? Wow, that's really specific.
It is. And that highlights the problem with just using regular pasta water.
How so?
Well, how much starch actually ends up in your water? Depends, right?
Yeah, it depends on the pasta type, how long you cook it, how much water.
Exactly. It's variable, unpredictable. You're kind of just guessing or hoping you've got the right amount.
Which probably explains why my results are all over the place. Sometimes disaster.
Yeah, it's likely a big part of it. And this is where the researchers' approach gets really interesting. They thought, okay, if the starch amount is critical, why leave it to chance?
So what did they suggest?
Instead of relying on that variable pasta water starch, they recommend using a precisely measured amount of powdered starch.
Powdered starch, like cornstarch or potato starch.
Exactly. Either of those, you measure it out precisely.
That makes so much sense. Takes the guesswork right out. I think I read a quote from one of the authors, Ivan di Terlizzi. He really stressed that precision, didn't he?
Yes, absolutely. Di Terlizzi basically said, look, starch is vital, and the amount of starch drastically changes the outcome.
Right.
So his point was you need to use a precisely measured amount, and the only way to really do that is with powdered starch, calculated in proportion to your cheese.
Control. It's all about control.
That's the essence of their scientific method for this, yeah.
Okay, so starch is one big piece of the puzzle, controlling the amount. But what about heat? That's the other thing I feel like I always mess up.
Yes.
Yeah.
The heat factor.
Yeah. Like sometimes it melts okay for a second, and then wham, it just seizes into this rubbery lump. What's happening there?
Yeah, that's super common. And the science explains it pretty clearly. Too much heat is bad news for chief proteins.
How so?
Heat causes the proteins to denature. It changes their structure. Think about cooking an egg. The proteins unfold and then stick together in new ways.
Ah, like the egg white going solid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
With cheese, that processed protein coagulation is what makes it form those tight, unpleasant clumps. It squeezes out the water and fat.
Okay, that makes total sense now. So the lesson for Cacio e Pepe is gentle heat. Low and slow.
Definitely gentle. Their advice is crucial here.
Right.
Let the pasta water cool down a bit before you add the cheese. Don't just dump hot cheese into boiling water.
Right, let it cool slightly.
And then heat the sauce up to serving temperature really gently, slowly. Avoid shocking those proteins.
But I remember trying to speed it up once. Terrible idea. Got exactly that rubbery mess.
Been there. It really drives home how important temperature control is. You need patience.
Okay, this is fantastic. So we have the starch secret, use a measured amount. And the heat secret, be gentle, let it cool first. Based on this, the scientists actually came up with a method, right? A foolproof plan.
Well, maybe not totally foolproof. Cooking always has variables. But definitely a scientifically sound method designed for consistency.
Okay, walk us through it. How does their method work?
Right, so it's all about that precision. First step, you make your own starchy water.
Not from pasta.
Nope. You dissolve a specific amount of powdered starch potato or cornstarch into regular water. You calculate how much you need based on your cheese.
Okay, measured starch water. Got it.
Then second step, and this is important, you mix that measured starch thoroughly with your grated pecorino. Get it really uniform.
So the starch is evenly distributed with the cheese before it hits the water?
Exactly. It preps the cheese for stabilization. Then you add that cheese starch mixture back into the pan, maybe with a little bit of the starchy water you made.
And then heat it.
Gently. Slowly bring it up to serving temperature. No sudden heat blasts.
Low and slow again.
Right. Finally, stir in your black pepper, add your cooked pasta, toss it all together. The aim is just smooth, creamy, reliable sauce. Every time.
That sounds kind of revolutionary for home cooks. You're basically taking out the two biggest variables, the random starch amount and the harsh heat shock.
That's the idea. Eliminate the guesswork, reduce the risk of failure. It's applying scientific principles to solve a common kitchen frustration.
It's brilliant. And are they stopping there?
Yeah.
Or looking at other pasta mysteries?
Funny you ask. They actually mentioned their next target, another Roman classic.
Oh, yeah. Which one?
Pasta alla gricia.
Ah, grizia. So, cacio e pepe, but with guanciale, that crispy pork jowl. Love that dish.
Me too. And they have this observation, maybe an intuition, that gricia seems easier to make consistently well.
Interesting. I hadn't really thought about it that way.
Well, that's what sparked their curiosity. One of the authors, Daniel Riabusiao, he mentioned it. He said something like, this recipe seems easier. We don't know exactly why. That's something we might explore.
So they want to figure out why gricia might be more forgiving.
Yeah. Could it be the rendered fat from the guanciale? Does that help emulsify the sauce somehow?
Yeah.
Makes it more stable.
That's a great question, the fat component.
Definitely worth investigating, they think.
No.
Another culinary puzzle for physics to tackle.
Fascinating. Okay, so let's recap this Cacio e Pepe deep dive. The big secrets to avoiding that clumpy mess are really about understanding the science.
Right. Two main things. First, the starch. It's not just thickening, it's stabilizing the fat and water. And the amount is critical.
That 2-3% ratio, which is why using measured powdered starch is the smart move for consistency.
Exactly. And second, the heat. Too much heat makes the cheese protein seize up.
So gentle heat is key. Let the water cool a bit first. Heat the sauce slowly.
Nailed it. That's the core of their scientifically informed method. It's a path to more reliable, delicious cacio e pepe.
And less wasted pecorino.
Always a bonus. It offers a repeatable technique, moving beyond just hoping for the best.
You know, it really makes you think, doesn't it? How many things we do every day, especially in cooking, seem simple, but actually have some complex science underneath.
Absolutely. Physics and chemistry are everywhere in the kitchen.
And maybe some of our everyday frustrations, things that seem like random failures, could actually be solved if we just understood the underlying mechanics a bit better.
It's definitely possible. Taking a more analytical approach can unlock solutions sometimes.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Perhaps it's time to try this scientific Cacio e Pepe method. See if precision makes a difference in your kitchen.
Give it a shot.
And maybe start looking at other kitchen challenges or any recurring problem, really, and wonder, what's the science behind this? Could understanding it better help find a fix? Food for thought, you could say.